Shalom, family. This is Sister Yara, and I just wanted to briefly address a few thoughts about two different points of view on the issue of New Year, a little bit about the holidays. We're now in the year of 2018, the month of January, according to, the calendar of the society that we all live and function in. And I wanted to encourage my Hebrew family, first of all. I know some of you, especially those who are kind of new to this walk, I know a lot of you feel uncomfortable when, people wishing you a Happy New Year and different things because we know that we observe in a different season of the year. And, but I just wanted to encourage you that, when somebody wishes you a Happy New Year, I know that you have your thoughts on not wanting to offend the Most High, but sometimes we end up being unnecessarily offensive towards people when their intentions are simply just to wish you well. Sometimes we go a little bit too deep. You're not sinning by simply acknowledging that we're in a new calendar year, because we are. Like it or not, when you sign a sheet of paper now, you're going to write 2018 on the date. This is the current year that we're in. Yes, we know that biblically speaking, the new year doesn't start until the spring. But that doesn't change the fact that based on the timeline of our the timeline of the place where we live, we're in 2018. And when you do your taxes, your taxes are going to end December 2017, January to December 2017. These years are just a function of recording time. It's a way of rendering time. And we actually have several calendars that we function on, in this society. For example, if you have a job, whatever company you work for, industry that you work in, they usually have what's considered to be a fiscal year. Okay, and in that fiscal year, that's the time frame that they use to do their accounting and do their books and things like that. And the fiscal year may start and end in the month of June or July. Usually that's the time frame. So there's going to be a hustle and a bustle around that time of year to complete things and to get reports done by the end of that fiscal year on your job. So while the world has this calendar year that it works in between January and December, certain things are based on that time frame. Your job will have a fiscal year and things work on that particular cycle. The children go to school and there is a calendar year, a school year based on the time frame they start in school. And usually the school year starts around August or September based on what state you live in. So that calendar is put out, and everything revolves around that particular time frame. And so these other, these things we don't argue about. We understand them. We understand it's simply a way of counting time and operating within various cycles in the society that we live in. And it's okay. We live here. The Most High knows and understands that we live here because he put us here. So just want to encourage you that, it's okay. We don't have to be so wound up about that aspect of it. I'm going to get to the other parts of it. But for that aspect, we don't have to, be stressed out and concerned about, having to operate within that cycle. It is okay. And people wishing you a happy 2018, wishing you well for this new cycle. It's not, not the end of the world. It's not a bad thing, to, have a clean slate, a time period where people have a clean slate. Let people be great. It's fine for us to observe the things that we observe, but allow people to, if people are, I don't believe in setting New Year's resolutions and all those type of things, and I don't get involved in the celebrations of New Year's, and I'll get into that in a moment why I don't. But if people are using that time frame of January the 1st to make better decisions in their lives, allow them that space to be great. They're not on the same beliefs, that you are on. So for the time being, the Most High may even use that to make changes in their life and to allow them to, get closer to Him or get closer to the truth. So, we have to live the truth that we live and allow people to have their own beliefs. Not saying that we don't share truth and that we don't express, but what works better is to live your truth and to live it in such a way and in such a light that it is attractive to people who have an ear to hear, who have a heart to hear, and who the Most High is opening eyes to see. Okay, and then you can be a light into, to guide into further truth. Okay, so I just want to share that first of all with my Hebrew family, and also want to share some thoughts with my Christian family in regards to why many of us don't acknowledge these holidays. Now, when the issue comes in, where the issue with New Year's comes in is when we get to the various practices that are associated with January the 1st and with New Year's, the celebration behind it. And I'm not going to get into an exhaustive explanation on this video or anything. There's plenty of information that's online and available for those who have a heart to learn more. But just to share just a little tidbit for those who don't understand why us as Hebrews separate ourselves from these various celebrations, just in particular for New Year's, our calendar here in America is based upon the Roman calendar. We use the Gregorian calendar right now, but it's based off the Julian calendar that was set up by Julius Caesar, in which a number of the months are named after Roman gods, Roman deities. Okay, so for example, on January 1st, celebration is connected to the Roman god that's called Janus, Janus. You see the connection between the word Janus, that god, and January. Okay, so because that particular deity is called it's called the god of beginnings, right? So if you look it up, if you go Google it or whatever, it'll say that Janus is the god of beginnings, gates, transitions, the god of time, duality, doorways, passages, and endings. Okay, so that is, and all those thoughts are what happens around January the 1st, the way that we conduct those celebrations. He's usually depicted as having two faces. So the image of him has one face looking to the future and one face looking to the past. So this January 1st time frame and this changing of the year is celebrated as such a big deal outside of the commercial aspects of, because our society is always trying to make money. That's the god, that's the ultimate god behind all of these holidays, the god of money, the god of mammon. That's the main thing driving all these holidays. But to go back to the more of the roots, the reason it's a big deal is because this is a pagan time of worship to the god Janus. And that is just one of the pagan associations behind this January 1st New Year. There's a lot of tradition. So the whole idea of we're looking back over the year, looking back over the past, and then looking towards the future and making these wishes and these sacrifices towards the new year that we're going to do, these resolutions, like all these things are a part of the traditions associated with the pagan god Janus, or whatever the case may be. So some of the traditions also come from there's various different things that are connected to it. There's a celebration called Sylvester Day that some of these traditions are connected to, as far as the drinking and the people getting drunk on New Year's and different things like that. Some of it, and also that the ball drop that they do has some connections to this Sylvester Day. It also goes back to Babylonian, all the way back to Babylon, to Babylonian celebrations that they had. They had like a 12-day or 7-day, I forget, celebration around that time. Even though they didn't celebrate on January the 1st, they did celebrate in the springtime. So But there's many videos and articles online to learn more about that. As a Hebrew and as a believer in the scriptures and a believer of the God of the scriptures, the Most High Yah, we're told to not worship any other gods, any other deities, and to participate in the worship of any other deities, whether directly or indirectly. If something is associated with another deity, we're told to not do that. Also, we're told to not attribute worship to him that is in the manner of what others are doing towards their gods. For example, when you look at the golden calf incident, where they created this golden calf when they were waiting for Moses to return, when Moses was dealing with the Most High during those 40 days, the people got anxious and created this golden calf, but then they dedicated this to the Most High Yah. So their intention was to worship the Most High Yah, but they did it based on this pagan way of creating this golden calf, this idol. Okay, so the Most High tells us to not worship him in that way. He was very angry. Also in Deuteronomy 12, he tells us that we can't take celebrations. That's why Christmas and Easter are such an issue. We can't take the pagan's name off of it and put the Most High's name on it and redefine it and turn it towards him. He hates that. He hates for us to attribute worship to him that is in the manner, in the way that the nations in the world, the pagans, are worshiping their deities and their keeping their traditions and all those type of things. He specifically tells us not to worship him in that way. We're told also not to follow the various customs of the nations, because he says that they're vain, they're empty, they're worthless. And we can look at this in New Year's Eve and New Year's resolutions. Like, how many people have turned over a new leaf in January the 1st just for it to be turned right back over by January the 15th, by February the 1st. It's not lasting. It's because it's not based on the fruit of the Spirit. It's not based on the prompting of the Most High. Is not based on his wisdom and the cycles that he's set in motion for us to be able to do meaningful and lasting things. Not that nobody can ever do good, but for the most part, these traditions are vain and they're worthless and they're empty. Jeremiah chapter 10 tells us that, to not follow the customs of the nations. Okay, because he gave us our own customs and our own things to follow. So in Hebrew history, just to look at some of the things that are going on in that realm, the turning of the year came to be acknowledged first of all, in the month of Tishri, which is, and I'm talking about what the Jewish people observe today, first in the month of Tishri, which is the 7th month, which will be like September. That turning of the year, quote unquote, was used to count the years, which was believed to be starting from creation. Okay, so the counting of times to count the years was connected to the 7th month of the year, the month of Tishri. So, and there was also a time frame where there was an agricultural new year, being the time of harvest. Okay, so Jewish people often say, Rosh Hashanah. You may have heard of that before. Rosh Hashanah, around the Feast of Trumpets in September. We biblically celebrate the Feast of Trumpets during that time frame, but the Jewish people call it Rosh Hashanah in the turning of the actual year, because they use that to count the years. So that's something that is more so proclaimed in from the Jewish people, or whatever the case may be. However, in the book of Exodus, the Most High told the children of Israel that the month of Abib, also called the month of Nisan, would be the first month for us as Hebrews, as the children of Israel. He told us that that was the beginning of the year, which is in the beginning of spring, around March, April. So this makes sense because it aligns with the seasons and with beginnings. That's actually a time of new beginnings, where the earth is in sync with springing forth and beginning new, and a new season is starting. So the Most High want designed for them to acknowledge this during a time frame that it made sense. It was in sync with nature, which is something that we're very out of sync with now. The Most High's things that He implemented were very in sync with nature. So He kept us as humans in sync with the elements, in sync with nature, in the things that He implemented, because it's very important to be in sync and to be in alignment. Um, so, so the new year is, biblically speaking, in the spring, in March and in April. So this is the calendar on which we count our months. So in our feast days, in the appointed times that y'all set apart, is attached to that. So that you have to start at the month of Abib, the month of Nisan, which is in spring, March, April time frame, in order to be able to count all the rest of the feasts for that year. So this is the calendar year that our lives as Bible believing people who follow the God of the Bible, should be in sync with, and our lives should revolve around this calendar that He's given us. And this should be our culture, other than taking on the customs of the nations that we live in, taking on the world's customs. Our culture should be in lifting up the days and the times and the customs that He, the Father, the Mighty One, the Creator, has given us. That is where our life should revolve around. But unfortunately, this is where, in this, speaking to my Christian brothers and sisters that I know, follow the Most High and follow Messiah, unfortunately, our lives have come to be mostly in sync with the surrounding culture. We the holidays and the festivals and the month to month things that we do is in sync with the culture of the world. So our minds are, have in mind all these different holidays and all these traditions that are connected to them, and our money revolves around it. Some people actually have, we have Christmas funds that we take money out of our check every month to save for Christmas. So our money, we spend money on each one of these holidays, costs money. That's why this is all sacrifices. We sacrifice our money, our time, our mind, our energy to these gods, this god of money, and the gods associated with these different days that is set in motion. So we are in sync with those things and in alignment with those things and make sacrifices to it. And these things are connected to these various other gods and deities and their practices. So what's so messed up about that and so wrong about that is that at the same time, my Christian brothers and sisters who are in sync with that, at the same time, there's a complete ignoring of the Most High's timeline and the Most High's divine appointments, that all have to do with His creation. All of the things that He set apart was set apart from the very beginning, from creation. They have to do with His creation, and they have to do with our very salvation. Like they all tell of His glory and tell of His plan of salvation, which all of life is linked into. So it's very important and it's very vital to who we proclaim to be as believers in the Most High and believers in Messiah. These days are important, so I wanted to just challenge you that in 2018 to explore and to start to become familiar with what the Father has for you. A lot of times we're praying for all the material things that we feel that He has for us. I want what He has for me in 2018, but there are spiritual and practical things that He already has for you, that's already been set in motion for thousands of years. Things that are right in the scriptures that He has for you, that came from His mouth directly. But yet there seems to be no interest in those things. So when we ask for things, we're asking selfishly because we're rejecting what He already has for us. Our hearts are on what we want for ourselves, and instead of our hearts being on what He already has for us, and then going forth from that. So there's so much more to this walk, You know, we serve a set apart Yah, a set apart mighty one that has set apart things for his set apart people. So as a set apart people, he has things that are set apart for us. We should be very separate in every area of our life from the things that are going on outside us in this culture, which is contrary to a lot of times what's taught in Christianity, that we're supposed to be be in a compromised position where we're supposed to engage the culture in a way that compromises us and causes us to look just like them so that we can be attractive to them. And that's not how the Most High operates. He operates very differently. Romans 12, 2, it says, do not be conformed to this world, but to be transformed, you know, by the renewing of our minds, so that we can prove what is good and the good and well pleasing and perfect desire of the Most High Yah. We are to not be conformed to this world. We have to be transformed because we've been molded by this world, and we're so used to doing things according to the world. You know, we have to, because of that, become transformed and renew our minds, so that by our minds being renewed, then we can prove and test to see, okay, in every matter, what is the good and well pleasing and perfect desire of our Yah. You know, we as Hebrews, we're seeking to shed off this Western mindset. You know, we're seeking to shed off the ways that are contrary to the Most High Yah. And we're seeking to embrace the ancient paths of the Most High Yah, our power. You know, so we are trying to recapture what has been lost as we, you know, have been immersed in this world. And there's so many ways, there's so much more than the simple surface level things that we've been taught to focus on. So, you know, with that, you know, I just want to leave you with shalom. I pray that that this has been edifying. My goal is not to condemn anybody for what they currently what their understanding currently is, or what they're doing in their zeal, but to encourage you and to enlighten you that there is more. You know, there are some who have a heart and a desire and a passion to please the Most High Yah in all their ways. So for those people, I believe that the Most High wants to continue to edify you and to open your eyes and lead you into more truth and light, so that He can be glorified fully in our lives, and that we can walk in sync with Him and be a people that's set apart for His purposes and pleasing in His sight. So I leave you with shalom. Feel free to always reach out with any questions or any thoughts. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel, because there will be more videos. I'm going to be addressing those who may be new to this walk, or those who are being awakened and dealing with a lot of things coming out of Christianity, and seeking a closer, more true walk with the Most High, seeking Him in spirit and truth, because those are the worshipers that He's seeking. So with that, I leave you with shalom.